Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and yes, this time we're going to do real spoilers. No joking around, no goofing off. Me doing all the Kaladesh spoilers, not all of them right away. We're going to divide it in over 3 videos, and it looks like it's a, 264 card set. Let's assume there's 3 basic lands for each color. So we're looking at 15 basics total, right? Is that the math? 5 colors times 3? Got it. So 15 less cards, so it looks like about 249 actual non-basic land cards. So it should be about 84 cards I'll look at in each volume, but you guys don't care about that. I just want these videos to be not ridiculously long right away. So we're going to do it in order of spoilers. And a lot of these cards I haven't even seen yet. So you'll be discovering them right alongside me. So we're going to do 84 cards. What I know about Kaladesh? Well, it's an artifact set, right? I already know what the mechanics are. And it looks to be cool. It looks like a fun set. If you've been following me on Eldritch Moon, you know I haven't been like super successful with it. Despite that, it's weird because I love Eldritch Moon. I love the format. I love playing it. I think it's a really fun set to play. I'm just not super successful at it. So that's kind of a weird little thing that typically if I'm not good at a format, I hate it. But no, I think it's fun. I'm just not great at it. All right. So let's jump into some spoilers. We got a lot to get through in this first video. Let's do it. Healy's Artistry. 4 and 2 blue, sorcery, rare. Choose one or both. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact. Create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it's an artifact, in addition to its other types. I like this card a lot. In an artifact set, you imagine this card's going to be really good. Granted, it costs 6 mana, but at the very worst, it duplicates a creature in play. I think it's potentially very strong, and otherwise, it's only okay, because like I said, a 6 mana clone effect for just a creature or just an artifact is not that great. But doing both seems like it's going to be real good. So yes, I think Healy's Artistry is the real deal for limited. And granted, most of what I say is going to be for limited because, as you know, I don't play a ton of constructed. But I will definitely talk about the limited applications. And if I do believe, like this next card, that it will make standard, well, not necessarily standard, but some form of constructed, I'll chime in on that too. So next we have Inventors Fair. It's a legendary land. It's a rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain 1 life. It taps for a colorless mana, and then it's 4 and tap. Sacrifice Inventors Fair. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. I think this card's very good. I definitely think it could make standard constructed. It feels like it should make some constructed somewhere, just because maybe it's too expensive for something like Affinity to even want to run, just because, they spew out 1,000,000 artifacts, and if they didn't beat you by the time they could activate this, they've lost anyway. But it just seems like this is a powerful effect for an artifact deck. So I like Inventors Fair. Now, granted, it is a legendary land, so you can only have 1. But as far as playing it in limited, yeah. I mean, if you've got a bunch of artifacts, which I imagine you will in an artifact set, this card seems like it would be very good at probably finding one of your vehicles, right? We'll get to that in a bit. So next we have Furious Reprisal. 3 and a red sorcery. It's an uncommon. Furious Reprisal deals 2 damage to each of 2 target creatures and or players. This card is great. Just very, very strong limited card. Being able to kill 2 things in 1 card is always good. And the fact that you can nuke, at worst, nuke a creature for 2 and then nuke the player for 2 still seems very good. Or just nuke a player for 2 if they don't even have a creature to kill them. Right? Not too bad. Or wait. Each of 2 target creatures and or players. So I guess technically, if there's not 2 legal targets, like if there's not a creature your opponent controls and your opponent, you would have to nuke your opponent and you, or one of your creatures and your opponent. Still going to be a very good card in limited, absolutely. And probably, I can't imagine it's not worthy of a first pick. Killing 2 things on 1 card is always good. Propeller Pioneer. 3 and a white. Human Artificer, a common. It's a 2/1 with flying and this new mechanic, Fabricate 1. So Fabricate 1 is, when this creature enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it, or create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. So I like it. Always in Limited, I've found cards that generate multiple creatures are typically always good. I'm sure there's some exceptions that people would be willing to point out, but I think for the most part, putting multiple bodies out for one card is good. Very, very good. So I think Fabricate's going to be an excellent mechanic. I feel as though people are going to put out the 1/1s more often than not, but in this case, getting that +1/+1 counter on an evasive creature may actually be better. But yes, I do think this card is very good. I like it a lot. It's going to see a ton of limited play, definitely. All right, next we have Oval Chase Dragster, which is the first vehicle creature we're going to take a look at. So it's a 4-mana artifact vehicle. It's an uncommon. It's a 6/1 trample haste, but it doesn't become a 6/1 trample haste until you use this crew mechanic. So crew 1, tap any number of creatures you control with total power 1 or more. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So it is actually, like, for the most part, a drawback to have crew, because it means Oval Chase Dragster is nothing but a vehicle that doesn't do anything other than be an artifact until you tap a creature with power 1 or more. But if you do, it's got trample and haste. So you pay 4 mana, you could just tap one of your creatures, and then you get a 6/1 trample haste, which is very good, actually. So I was wrong about a merge. I figured a merge was not going to be that exciting of a mechanic. It turns out a merge is like actually a really fantastic mechanic in Limited. So I expect these undercosted sort of artifacts that, you can tap your weak creatures and turn them into these strong creatures are actually going to be very good and playable. So, of course, it's just one of those things where you have to play it to find out. All right, next we have the first Planeswalker of the set. We have Healy Rye, 1 a blue and a red, 3 loyalty, Saheeli Planeswalker, and +1 scry 1. Healy Rye deals 1 damage to each opponent. -2, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. That token gains haste, exiled at the beginning of the next end step. And then -7, search your library for up to 3 artifact cards with different names, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. So, pros and cons of this Planeswalker. Pros, 3 mana, so it's cheap. Comes in with 3 loyalty, very good. It does not protect itself, which is a downside, but paying 3 mana for a potential 4 loyalty, if you +1 it right away, might just be enough protection where, sucking up 4 damage, basically preventing 4 damage to you to basically die to one of your opponent's creatures could be worth it anyway. All in all, I'm not super impressed with this Planeswalker. I don't think it's great. I think it's playable, definitely. In Limited, you're absolutely going to try and play it, and red-blue are typically the artifact colors in most sets. So in that respect, it's cool. The -2, you only get the token temporarily. It is cool that it could be an aggressive Planeswalker, like you copy one of your powerful, maybe one of your vehicles has already been turned into a creature, so then you can create a token copy of that creature. So in that respect, it's good. And then it probably doesn't even have to be manned or crewed at that point. So you copy an Oval Chase Dragster and you get 2 6/1s if it's already become a creature. So that's actually kind of cool. And it gains haste anyway, so it doesn't even need the haste from Oval Chase Dragster. All in all, good Limited Planeswalker. Is it going to see constructed play? Well, Planeswalkers, typically see a little bit to at least find out if they're good or not. But no, I'm not overly impressed with Healy Rye. I think it's a fine card. Certainly playable and Limited. All right, next we have Aetherworks Marvel. 4 mana, mythic, legendary artifact. Whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, you get this new symbol, which is an energy counter. So you have to keep track of your energy counters, which is like the closest thing to a new mana symbol, I guess, since colorless became its own mana symbol. So it's tap, pay 6 energy counters, Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a card from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This card's okay. It has to be your permanents you control put into a graveyard. So what's interesting about it is it doesn't say dies. Now, I don't know if they rules text changed that because it used to say dies, remember? So I wonder if that means put into a graveyard specifically means, is that different than dies? I guess dies only applies to creatures. Okay, so whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, would still apply to token creatures you have if they die. The only reason it says put into a graveyard is because it's referring to all permanents. Got it. All in all, I don't think that this card is like insane. If you have a bunch of cards that generate energy counters, it could be pretty good. It lets you cast free spells. I would certainly try it out. As far as like first picking it, I mean, it depends. How often are you going to have permanents put into a graveyard? It doesn't seem like it's going to happen 6 times, in one turn. So it feels as though it's kind of a do nothing until a bunch of your stuff goes to the graveyard. And then it potentially casts something big. All in all, I'm not like blown away by it, and I don't think that it's even a first pick necessarily, unless there is like a dedicated energy strategy, in which case cheating out guys could be very good. Next we have Gonti, Lord of Luxury, 2/2 black, 2/3, Aetherborn Rogue, rare, with Death Touch. When Gonti, Lord of Luxury, enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of target opponent's library, exile one of them face down, then put the rest on the bottom of that library in a random order. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at it, you may cast it, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast it. I very much like this card a lot. I love how it works. You get to steal basically a card from your opponent's top 4. They don't know what you took. And then you get to cast it with spending any mana to cast it, which is just really cool. And it's a 2/3 Death Touch, so likely it's just going to trade and kill something. Yeah, I love Gonti, Lord of Luxury. I think it's a great card, and I expected to see a ton of limited play, and possibly even constructed play. Maybe that's a little bit too bold, but I love that it sort of replaces itself with a card from your opponent's deck that you get to choose. That may very well be good enough for constructed, but the thing is, if Gonti dies, you don't get to cast the spell anymore. So there is that. But yes, this card is going to see a ton of limited play, and I think it's fantastic for limited. Depala, Pilot Exemplar is next. 1 generic, a red, and I shouldn't say colorless anymore. 1 generic, a red and a white. It's a legendary dwarf pilot, rare. I love that creature type, by the way, dwarf pilot. Other dwarves you control get +1/+1. Each vehicle you control gets +1/+1 as long as it's a creature. And whenever Depala Pilot Exemplar becomes tapped, you may pay X. If you do, reveal the top X cards of your library, put all dwarf and vehicle cards from among them into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This card's great. 3 mana, 3/3, very good. Boost your other dwarves. We'll see very soon. There's other dwarf creatures, and there's plenty of vehicles as well. And then whenever you attack with it, or maybe you give it an activated ability somehow, we'll see if there's cards that do that. You get to pay X and find an even more card advantage. So yes, I think Depala is a fantastic card. It's going to see a ton of limited play. Next we have a Sky Sovereign, console flagship. So 5 mana, legendary vehicle, mythic. It's a 6/5 flying. Whenever it enters battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and it has crew 3. So yes, a bit more of a requirement in terms of the crew activation, but I love that at least if you don't have the crew to necessitate it, it's a 5 generic mana, 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and then eventually becomes a big win con. So yes, Sky Sovereign is nuts. Something to keep in mind, I should maybe mention this now. In artifact sets, a really nice thing in terms of drafting is that a lot of times you get to stay open longer because you're first picking potentially cards like Sky Sovereign or maybe some other vehicle that are all generic mana to cast. So it allows you more time to sort of see what's open, which is kind of just a cool thing in general about artifact sets in terms of limited. So yeah, Sky Sovereign is bonkers. I think this card is super strong. Next we have Architect of the Untamed, 2 and a green, 2/3, Elf Artificer Druid. It's a rare. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy counter, and then you pay 8 energy, and you get to create a 6/6 colorless beast artifact creature token. So once again, really depends on how dedicated, how deep you can go on energy counters. If you can go deep, this card will surely make you a 6/6 colorless beast artifact creature token. If this card is the only energy generator in your deck, you probably aren't going to be too thrilled about it. Being able to, play 8 lands in a game if you've already played 3 to get out the Architect of the Untamed. So you're going to need a grand total of, 11 lands played by the time you get your first 6/6. That's not that good. So yes, completely dependent on how good an energy counter deck is in the format. Too tough to evaluate this early. Otherwise, 3 mana, 2/3, certainly playable. Next, we have Start Your Engines. 3 and a red sorcery. It's an uncommon. Vehicles you control become artifact creatures until end of turn. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. So this is a cool card. I don't think it's particularly good. We've seen the creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. I forget the name of the card, but it's attacking creatures you control. Trumpet Blast. So Trumpet Blast is 2 and a red, instant, attacking creatures you control. Get +2/+0 until end of turn. This is a sorcery, but you don't have to man or crew your vehicles. They just become artifact creatures. And if you don't have any vehicles, it at least boosts your creatures. All in all, I think we're going to encounter it a few times. If you have enough vehicles, maybe it's worth it. But yeah, all in all, not a fantastic card. Certainly won't go early in draft. Next, we have Speedway Fanatic. 1 and a red, human pilot, so it already interacts with the Pala. Uncommon, 2/1 haste. Whenever it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gains haste until turn. So I actually like this card. I think it's a cool card. So it's a hasty goblin piker. And then on top of that, it can give vehicles haste. So I like this card. I actually think just the fact that it's a 2 mana 2/1 haste honestly makes it very playable and limited. I think an aggressive deck would love to have this card, and an aggressive deck that maybe has a vehicle or two is going to be happy to use this to crew those vehicles. So yes, Speedway Fanatic is a cool card and definitely going to see some limited play. Next we have Sky Skiff. So here's a common vehicle, 2 mana, 2/3 flying with crew 1. I like this one a lot. This one's good. Just gives you a little evasive creature. So board stall situations, it's going to be nice to be able to push evasive damage by simply tapping one of your 1 power or more creatures. Yes, Sky Skiff is very good. Next we have Glint Sleeve Artisan. 2 and a white, 2/2 Dwarf Artificer, common, with Fabricate 1. Yes, this card is a very good common. 3 mana, potentially a 3/3, or a 2/2 with a 1/1 artifact creature. This card is probably going to be picked pretty early on, honestly. 3 mana, 3/3 is good. Like I said, both modes are good. So very powerful common, definitely. Next we have Whirler Maker. 3 mana artifact, uncommon. Then you pay 4 and tap, and you get a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So compared to the Hive, and it's certainly better. The Hive was 5 mana artifact with 5 mana tap, and you get a 1/1 flying bee creature, I believe. Or maybe it was an artifact creature, I can't remember. But Whirler Maker, you certainly don't want it in multiples. Are there strategies that would make Whirler Maker playable? Perhaps. If you get enough high toughness blockers that early on, this could be an actual thing that turns into a win con in the long game. Makes you do something. I mean, if you have nothing else to pour your mana into, getting a 1/1 colorless Thopter each turn over, 3 or 4 turns, that will add up. That will win you a game or two. So, yes, I think Whirler Maker is playable in limited, and I think it's going to be, I think we're certainly going to see it come up at least a few times as a win condition for certain decks. Once again, kind of a format-dependent card. Next, we have a Rashmi Eternity's Crafter. 2 generic, a green and a blue for a 2/3 legendary elf druid mythic. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than that spell's, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't cast the revealed card, put it into your hand. So let's figure out what this card's doing. You cast your first spell, you reveal the top card of your library. Non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, and if you don't, you get to draw it. So at worst, you get to draw a card every time you cast your first spell. Fantastic. This card is going to be very good simply because of that. On top of that, it's even better because you can cast spells with less casting costs than the first spell you cast for free. So yes, I think Rashmi is the real deal. This is one of those cards that could actually make constructed play if there was some sort of build around strategy for it. Some way to cheat out a spell into a spell that does something even filthier. So this one's got potential. Probably not, I guess. It is just a good card advantage spell in general, though, which I like a lot. So definitely going to see a lot of limited play. I guess it's a little dependent on how much of a strategy green-blue is, but I would totally splash for a card like this if I was in either green or blue. Absolutely. I think this card is very, very strong. Next we have Aether Storm Rock. 2 and 2 white, 3/3 rare bird with flying. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy counter, and whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 energy counters, and if you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. I like this card a lot, actually. I like that it generates its own little energy ability, which is pretty easy to pay since it only requires 2 energy, and you expect that you're going to be getting a few creatures out. This is one of those cards that interacts well with Fabricate, because Fabricate can give you multiple creatures. So when you play a Fabricate creature, you could get a bunch of energy counters, and then you could attack with Rock, make it bigger, and tap the creatures they control. So Aether Storm Rock seems like it's a bomb in limited, and certainly going to be worthy of Slam first picking almost all the time. Next we have Aether Trade Winds, 2 and a blue instant. Common, return target permanent you control and target permanent you don't control to their owner's hands. So this is similar to Call to Heal, which can only target creatures. This can target any permanent. I like this card. I think these style of cards are usually very playable because they interact positively with permanents you have with enter the battlefield effects, while simultaneously bouncing one of your opponent's either tokens, maybe from Fabricate, so you get to kill a token, or just a big fat creature that you want your opponent to pay the full mana cost for again. So yes, I think Aether Trade Winds is a great limited card. Next we have Tasseled Dromedary. 1 white, it's a camel common creature. Camel common. 0/4. Yeah, this is probably one of those cards that pairs well with Whirler Maker. Blocks early for you and buys you time to maybe get some Thoppers online for the late game. Is it great? No. Is it going to be picked early? No, I expect not. Next we have Terror of the Fairgrounds. 3 in a red, 5/2 gremlin creature. That's a common. So we see this card come up a lot in red. 4 mana, 5/2. These cards are better in some formats than others. Is it going to be good for this format? I'm not sure yet. I don't know. I'll have to play it to find out. Typically, they're better at defending than attacking, oddly enough, because they can kill 5 toughness creatures, and they only cost 4 mana. But, yeah, I would say for the most part, these 5/2s are pretty unexciting and low on the totem pole of picks. So next we have Curio Vendor, 1 in a blue, 2/1 Vidalcan common. So it's just a blue goblin piker. Nothing special, nothing crazy. Is it playable and limited? Probably. Are you super happy to have it? No, and it's going to go late. So nothing exciting, but certainly a playable limited card. Next we have Fleetwheel Cruiser, 4 mana, rare vehicle with Trample and Haste. It's a 5/3, and when it enters the battlefield, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, and then it's got Crew too. So the beauty of this card is you can pay 4 mana and you get a 5/3 Trample Haste right away. and you can attack with it right away because it becomes a creature on your first turn. And then after that, once you start crewing it, a 5/3 trample haste over the next few turns. Yes, I think Fleet Wheel Cruiser is a fantastic limited card and certainly worthy of first picking. It's going to beat down very hard. The trample on that is not to be overlooked. Next we have Skyship Stalker, 2/2 red, 3/3 dragon. So another along the same lines as Aether Storm Rock, the 4 mana 3/3 flyer. This one's a dragon. The rock is a bird. The Stalker has flying. It has fire breathing, so 1 red and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. 1 red and it gains first strike, and 1 red and it gains haste. Fantastic card. Slam, just windmill slam. This card first pick, absolutely. I think this card is just bonkers and limited and is going to rip people apart. This is one of those cards that could even see. I would not be surprised at all if this saw constructed play, just because it's a nice set of abilities at a pretty reasonable cost overall. Cultivator of Blades, 3 and 2 green for a 1/1 rare elf artificer creature with Fabricate 2. So in this case, you can get 2 +1/+1 counters or 2 servo artifact creatures. And whenever Cultivator of Blades attacks, you may have other attacking creatures get +X/+X until in turn, where X is Cultivator of Blades power. So this card's actually very cool, and I love how this works with Fabricate, because you basically get to choose, no, I have enough creatures, so I'd rather have a 3/3 that boosts all my creatures +3/+3, or I have a way to pump my Cultivator, so I'd rather have the 2 servo creatures. So Cultivator seems, even though, on the surface it looks like a 5 mana 1/1, it's much, much better than that. This seems like a slam first pick as well. It's one of those cards that just does ridiculous things in the late game, and one of the easiest ways to break a board stall that you can imagine. Next we have Verger's Gearhulk, 3 and 2 green for a 4/4 mythic artifact construct creature. It has trample. When Verger's Gearhulk enters the battlefield, distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. So this has got to be one of the strongest green creatures I've ever seen in Magic history. So 5 mana, 8/8 trample, or 5 mana, boost some other 4 creatures you have, or other 3, 2, 1 creatures you have. Just very versatile, very strong. This card, I would think, is going to see constructed play just solely for the fact that I would think that a 5 mana 8/8 trample is good enough. Maybe it's not. That'd be surprising, but super strong mythic. And it's one of those cards where you feel like you're in heaven when you have it in limited, and in hell when you play against it in limited, definitely. Next we have Filigree Familiar. 3 mana artifact, fox creature, uncommon, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. When it dies, draw a card. I love this card. This seems like a slam first pick. Almost, I feel like I'm going to be slam first picking this a lot of the time. This is what I was talking about earlier. You get to stay completely open by first picking this card, and it's just a great mashup of abilities. Granted, it's a Grey Ogre on the surface, but gain 2 when it enters, and then dies, draw a card. So it's just a really strong card. I honestly, this is another one of those cards where I wouldn't be surprised if it saw, constructed play. I know maybe this one seems a bit crazy, but it is a nice mashup of abilities. Maybe it won't see constructed play unless artifacts is a thing, but I really like this card a lot, and you're going to see tons of it in limited. Next, we have a Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. 2 mana artifact. When it enters battlefield, you gain 3 life and get 3 energy counters. You can pay 2 and a green, sacrifice the Puzzle Knot, gain 3 life, and get 3 energy. This card's cool. So if you're going, and the beauty of this card is the common too. So if you're going for an energy strategy, this seems like one of those cards that you're super happy to have. Because I love that it's not just energy too. You get to gain life as well. So it's at least doing some. It's ideally buying you a little bit of time on top of feeding your energy strategy. So yes, I imagine you're not going to have a ton of competition for cards like this. If you're in the energy strategy and no one else is, you're going to be able to get this super late. So that is, and it's a common, so you might even see them in multiples. So yes, it looks as though there are actual good cards for the energy strategy that can go very late at a common, that are common. Next we have Die Young, 1 and a black, black sorcery. It's a common. Choose target creature, you get 2 energy counters. Then you may pay any amount of energy. The creature gets -1/-1 until in return for each energy paid this way. So at worst, it's 2 mana, -2/-2 to a creature at sorcery, which isn't fantastic, but in limited is very good and certainly always playable. And on top of that, it works well for a energy strategy. So I like this card. I think it's definitely good and going to see a lot of limited play, regardless of whether you're in an energy strategy or not. Next, we have Live Fast. 2 and a black sorcery. You draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life, and you get 2 energy. So, it's a common. So, I think of cards like this as worse than Sign in Blood because I'd rather pay 2 black. I'd rather pay 1 less mana and get this effect. Another thing, you can't target your opponent like you could with Sign in Blood. As people know, I've definitely killed some people with Sign in Blood in the past. Nice parts about this, it's another card that feeds your energy strategy. It gives you card advantage on top of that. So, yes, I think Live Fast is a very playable limited card. I think of it as better than Succumb to Temptation from Eldritch Moon, which was instant and 2 black and a generic mana. So, I like Live Fast. I think it's going to see some limited play, and I think it's going to go fairly late. Like, you could definitely see this card 8th, 8th, 9th, 10th pick. I think that's totally possible, especially if no one's in energy strategy. Next, we have Territorial Gorger. 3 in a red, 2/2 rare gremlin with trample. Whenever you get 1 or more energy counters, Territorial Gorger gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So this card's kind of cool. This is another one of those cards that's dependent on you having a lot of energy cards to be good. But if you have a card like Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot with Territorial Gorger out, you're attacking for, what, 8? You're attacking for 8 trample on turn 5 if you play the Puzzle Knot. So this is one of those cards that can be anywhere from very, very mediocre to amazing, depending on how many energy cards you have. Next, we have Demon of Dark Schemes. 3 and 3 black. Mythic demon creature. It's a 5/5 flying. When it enters the battlefield, all other creatures get -2/-2 until in turn. Whenever another creature dies, you get an energy counter. Then you can even pay 2 and a black and 4 energy counters to put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control tapped. This card's super strong. I mean, even if it was just a 6 mana 5/5 flying, you'd be happy, even though it's a little bit hard to cast. On top of that, it basically is going to board wipe a little mini, an infest on the board. And then, on top of that, it generates energy counters for you. And then on top of that, you can even bring back a creature that you killed, potentially, or some other big creature with its ability. So yes, Demon of Dark Schemes seems like a busted limited card, definitely. One of those ones that's a real big tide turner. Next we have Girapur Orrery, 4 mana, rare artifact. Each player may play an additional land on each of his or her turns. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, that player draws 3 cards. This card's kind of cool. It doesn't feel like a first pick to me. A lot of times cards like this, even though this one does actually affect you first because you can play an additional land as soon as you play this, I don't like cards that benefit my opponent so much. Now, if you have a deck that can just blast through the hand very quickly, maybe this is a card for you, but it doesn't feel like a card that you'd necessarily want to build around on pick 1. So kind of a rare to keep your eye on, depending on how quickly you can burn through your hand once again, because I also don't like that it can benefit your opponent on this side too. So I think overall Girapur Orrery is not going to be a high priority rare pick, but a card that can definitely do some work for you in limited, if built around. Next we have Panharmonicon. 4 mana, rare artifact. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So a bit of a confusing card, but what I like about this one is it works well with Fabricate from the set, right? You play a Fabricate ability. and you get to fabricate an additional time. On top of that, it works well with energy counters, because if you have an artifact like Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot enter the battlefield, it causes the triggered ability gain 3 life and get 3 energy counters. So this would trigger 6 energy counters and gain you 6 life when it enters the battlefield. So I like Panharmonicon. This feels like a card in this set with all the, if you can get enough fabricate or energy counter enter the battlefield effects, this seems like a very good go-to card. The problem with it is it kind of does nothing without enter the battlefield effects. So kind of a build around. Maybe once again, not a card you slam first pick, but certainly a cool card nonetheless. I like this card a lot. A bit confusing. You know, there's really not a ton of cards that interact with triggered abilities, so it's always really interesting to see those cards and kind of keep your eye on them. All right, next we'll just go through the whole set. We've got a cycle. We have a cycle of rare lands that are enemy colors, and how they work is when they enter tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. So how do I feel about these cards? I think they're good. I think they're 100% they're going to see constructed play, but how good are they compared to the other lands that we've seen that are similar? I'm not blown away by these, because any later than turn 4, right? If you played a land every turn, you're not going to be able to have these enter untapped, and maybe you want them to. But overall, you know what? I like them, and it's refreshing to, get fixing in colors when you need it. So kind of good, kind of cool. In limited, they're whatever. You're never like blown away by them. Unless they're worth a bunch of tickets, then you're pretty happy. But I don't imagine these, after the first month or so, I can't imagine these are going to be worth more than a couple tickets. Probably. Okay, next we have Oval Chase Daredevil. This is a 4-mana, 4/2 uncommon human pilot. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Oval Chase Daredevil from your graveyard to your hand. I like this card a lot, actually. I think this card's very good. It's also a pilot, which is cool, so it's a relevant creature type in the format, presumably. But what's great about this card is we're in an artifact set, so that's going to happen. It works well with Fabricate, right? Because if this card's dead and you Fabricate and you put out that Servo Thopter, or that Servo creature token, you get this Oval Chase Daredevil back. So it comes back to your hand, granted, but it's kind of like a Gravedigger effect for itself, but it also blocks and attacks fairly well. Like, you're pretty happy to, I feel like you're pretty happy to trade this with anything, because you presumably are going to get it back at some point. So this is a very good card to keep your eye on. I think it's going to see a lot of limited play. Next we have Aerial Responder. This is an exciting card. 1 and 2 white for a 2/3 Dwarf Soldier, uncommon, with Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. So I think the best comparison for this card has got to be Vampire Nighthawk, which was a 1 and 2 black, 2/3 Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. I think I like the Nighthawk more than this one. However, Aerial Responder is still just a fantastic card, and I think this is easily first pickable a lot of the time, and this is going to put people away. Just a 4-point life swing every turn, and it's vigilant, so just a great card, very strong. Next we have Ceremonious Rejection. 1 blue instant, counter target, colorless spell. So in this format, this seems like a perfectly playable card, and I would say you're very happy to have it in your sideboard at the very least. So cool card. I wonder if this is one of those cards that could, get into Vintage, because it's probably just really strong against artifact-y decks. The ones that play like Workshop or whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of the older formats, so you can just ignore me on that. But, 1-mana counter spells that are hard counters for certain spells can be very good. Once again, will this be main deckable in this format? Probably. More often, I would like to have it out on my sideboard. Next, we have Essence Extraction. 1 and 2 black, instant, uncommon. Essence Extraction deals 3 damage to target creature, and you gain 3 life. This is one of those really bomb uncommons for limited. Just an utterly fantastic card, and once again, I think you're going to be slam dunking first picking this card often, and if you get any later than that, you're very happy. I mean, granted, it doesn't just straight up read murder, but that gain 3 life clause on it is fantastic. Like, if you're playing against aggro and limited and you have this card, you're super happy. Next, we have Inventors Goggles, 1 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. Whenever an Artificer enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Inventor's Goggles to it, and it equips for 2. So this card's okay. I actually don't think this card's that bad, and it definitely will see some limited play. We've seen a few Artificers, but even if you can't automatically attach Inventor's Goggles to it, just equipping for 2 is honestly not that steep of a cost. So I like this card. I think it's actually a very good equipment. All right, next we have Pia Nalar, 2 in a red, legendary human artificer, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and then she also has 1 in a red, target artifact creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and also 1 sacrifice an artifact, target creature can't block this turn. This is a amazing limited card. I would love to have this first pick in limited, especially in an artifact set. And the fact that she can boost any artifact creature or temporarily just make things unable to block, she seems like she's a real tide turner for a reasonable cost. Certainly worthy of first picking. Next we have Multiform Wonder, 5 mana, rare artifact creature construct. It's a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy counters. You pay 1 energy. It can gain Flying, Vigilance, or Lifelink until end of turn. And you pay 1 energy, it gets +2/-2 or -2/+2 until end of turn. I really like this card, actually. It's great for energy decks, but even on its own, it seems like it can definitely... It just has enough versatility where paying 5 mana for a 3/3 is going to be good enough. So I even would say this card could certainly be worthy of first picking. Granted, it's a little clunky, but I really like this card. I think this is one of those cards that, like I said, just does enough where you're going to be really happy with it in any given game. Next, we have Larger Than Life. 1 in a green sorcery. Target creature gets +4/+4 and gains trample until end of turn. This card's just awesome. Very, very strong. +4/+4 and gains trample. I think we've seen this before, right? Monstrify, was that also 2? I can't recall now. But yeah, I mean, it's a sorcery, so you can't use it as a combat trick, but +4/+4 and a fatty, and then give him trample. This will put people away, and expect to see this a lot in limited. Next, we have Master Trinketeer, 2 in a white, 3/2 rare dwarf artificer. Servos and Thopters you control get +1/+1. 3 in a white, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature. This card's amazingly strong. So 3 mana, 3/2, already fine. 3 in a white, make a 2/2 colorless servo artifact creature with the Master Trinketeer's just static ability it has on it. So yes, this is a bomb limited card and absolutely first pickable. I would probably slam first pick this over almost anything. Next we have Demolition Stomper, 6 mana, 10/7 vehicle, uncommon. Demolition Stomper can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and it has crew 5. So this is an example of a vehicle that is actually going to be kind of difficult to turn into an artifact creature, because you have to have creatures with total power 5 or more to even turn it into a 10/7, and it doesn't have trample. Granted, it does have some evasion, which I like a lot, and the evasion is relevant because you don't want just little dudes chumping it. So how good is Demolition Stomper? I don't think it's fantastic, and I probably wouldn't first pick it almost ever. I'm guessing, but I certainly think it's going to be playable and limited, and I'm probably going to lose to it at least once. All right, next we have a foreign card, so I'm just going to click on it to get the translation. Cataclysmic Gearhulk, 3 and 2 white for a. So this is in the Verger's Gearhulk cycle. It's a construct creature. It's vigilant. It's a 4/5 for 5 mythic, and when it enters the battlefield, each player chooses from among the non-land permanents he or she controls an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker, then sacrifices the rest. So very powerful effect. Very, very powerful effect. And you're going to slam first pick this in limited. This is one of those cards that could definitely see constructed play, and I imagine it will. It's just one of those effects that just makes you... I mean, think about it. Choose from among the non-land permanents he or she controls, artifact, creature, and enchantment, a planeswalker, and sacrifice the rest. So it doesn't make them sacrifice their lands, because it only affects non-land permanents, but it can wipe the board as well as give you a 4/5. And what's beautiful about the Gear Hulk is you can choose it as an artifact, or you can choose it as a creature. So really nice. Really, really nice. So far, all of those Gear Hulks have been, both of those Gear Hulks have been very impressive. All right, next we have a foreign card. So Gear Guide, 2 and a green, uncommon elf creature. It's a 3/2. 2 and a green, target creature you control can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. This is one of those cards that I actually kind of like for limited quite a bit. It gives a form of evasion in green, which is unusual to say the least. We don't see that very often. It's tacked onto a pretty reasonably costed body. So, yes, I think this card's very playable in limited, and I actually like it quite a bit. I think it'll go, it'll probably go mid to late as well. I don't think it'll go super early. Next, we have Fortuitous Find. 2 and a black, sorcery, common. Choose one or both. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This is one of those cards that I think is going to see a lot of limited play. Once again, because we're dealing with an artifact set. It's a pretty reasonable cost. If you only get one half, you're going to be unhappy. But if you get both halves, you should be really happy with paying 3 mana to get card advantage, especially targeted card advantage. So I like this card a lot. I think Fortuitous Find is a very good card. And I think you're going to be able to get it like, 5th or 6th pick and be really happy with it as well. Next, we have Morbid Curiosity. 1 and 2 black for a uncommon sorcery. Has an additional cost to cast Morbid Curiosity, sacrifice an artifact or a creature, draw cards equal to the converted mana cost of the sacrifice permanent. So, I like this card. I don't think it's fantastic. I don't think you're going to pick it super early, but it is one of those cards that can generate a ton of card advantage in the right circumstances. Like if you have some sort of pacifism effect on one of your permanents, or on your artifact or creature, drawing cards equal to the converted mana cost could be good enough. Am I going to play this all the time? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's actually going to see a ton of limited play, but I think there's going to be instances where someone draws 4 cards off of it, and I'm going to be like, huh, that was pretty good. So I am curious how good Morbid Curiosity is going to play. Next, we have Armorcraft Judge. 3 and a green, uncommon elf artificer creature. It's a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is one of those instances of cards that works well with Fabricate, but only if you use Fabricate to put +1/+1 counters on creatures you control. So in that respect, I don't think it's fantastic, but it is a hill giant at worst, and at best, it's a card that can generate card advantage for you when you play it. So it ranges anywhere from mediocre to exceptional. We'll see how that one plays. Next, we have Arborback Stomper, 3 and 2 green for a uncommon beast, 5/4 trample. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. This card's fantastic. Yeah, this is a bonkers card. In limited, I would very easily first pick this many, many times. 5 mana, 5 power trample, beautiful. It's a 5/4, awesome. Gain 5 life, amazing. Yes, Arborback Stomper seems like the real deal in limited. And honestly, I could see this seeing some sideboard standard constructed play, maybe even main deck, depending on how aggressive the format is. Just because it's basically like a win condition that buys you enough time and completely stops all of your opponent's cheap creatures that are attacking you. Yeah, this could definitely easily see some constructed play. Next, we have Voltaic Brawler. 1 red and a green for a 3/2 uncommon human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. When it attacks, you may pay an energy counter, and it gets +1/+1 and gains trample. Wow, I really like this card a lot. This seems like a really strong uncommon. So 2 mana 3/2, beautiful. It enters, you get energy, so it already works well with energy counter decks. Even if you're not an energy counter deck, you just get to attack with it as a 4/3 trample for at least 2 turns. This card seems very, very pushed. Not only is this an amazing limited card, this is another example of a card that could easily see constructed play. All right, next we have Long Tusk Cub, one in a red or one in a green rather, 2/2 uncommon cat creature. When it deals combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters, pay 2 energy counters, put a +1/+1 counter on Long Tusk Cub. I like this card a lot. This is a great card. This is just like Brawler, in that it's a grizzly bear at worst. It's monocolor, and then it gets bigger every time it hits your opponent. I really like this card a lot. That feels like a card you could even take early and be really happy with too, especially if you have a dedicated energy counter deck. That's a cool card. Next we have Harnessed Lightning, 1 or red, instant. It's an uncommon. Choose target creature. You get 3 energy counters. Then you may pay any amount of energy counters, and it deals that much damage to that creature. So 2 mana, instant. Deal 3 damage to a creature at worst. At best, maybe you need the energy for something else, so kill a creature and get a couple energy counters left over to pay for other things. All in all, fantastic card. It's going to be picked very, very early. All right, next we have Wisp Weaver Angel. 4 and 2 white, 4/4, uncommon angel with flying. When it enters battlefield, you may exile another target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This card's great. So it is a 6 mana 4/4 flying, which isn't like bonkers in itself, but is still very good. And then you get to get another enter the battlefield effect for a creature you control, or if a creature you control, say, has some detrimental aura on it or something along those lines, or has -1/-1 counters, you get to essentially reset it. I like this card a lot. I think Wisp Weaver Angel is the real deal for limited, and certainly going to see quite a bit of play. Next is Bomat Bazaar Barge, 4 mana vehicle. Uncommon. It's a 5/5, and when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and it's got crew 3. So there's a couple things I like about this card. 4 mana 5/5. It's colorless. So colorless 4 mana or generic 4 mana 5/5, very well costed. Enters the battlefield, draws a card. So at least cantrips. So even if you don't have a creature, it's digging for your creatures, right? And then crew 3, not totally unreasonable considering it's a 4 mana 5/5. So I actually like the Bazaar Barge. And I don't think you're going to slam first pick it, but I think it could go pretty early, like, 4th, 5th, 6th pick, something along those lines. Definitely. Absolutely. Next is Metallurgic Summonings. 3 and 2 blue, mythic enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token where X is that spell's convert mana cost. Then pay 3 and 2 blue. Exile Metallurgic Summonings. Return all instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only if you control 6 or more artifacts. This card's really cool. Are you going to first pick it all the time? No. Maybe if there's a ton of instants or sorceries to play, but keep in mind most decks are composed of, 17 lands, 15 creatures, 8 spells, and not even necessarily 8 instants or sorceries. So I feel like a lot of times in Limited, unless you're actively building around this card, it may not do enough of what you want it to do. But the fact that it lets you resolve your instant or sorcery and get an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, and later you can get back that instant or sorcery, yes. Just in that respect, I think it is actually probably first pickable. As long as you're running like 4 to 6 instants or sorceries minimum, I would say this card is probably still going to work out just fine for you. Probably. Next we have Chandra, Torch of Defiance. So 2 and 2 red, 4 loyalty, mythic Chandra Planeswalker. +1, exile a top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, Chandra deals 2 damage to each opponent. +1, add 2 to your mana pool. -3, deal 4 damage to target creature. -7, you get an emblem. Whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player. So this is a good one, man. Gonna see constructed play, definitely. I love the red card advantage, the wildness of it, where you get to just basically exile, and if you can't cast it, it's gone. If you can, you get it. Very good. I love that it protects itself. Granted, it's a bit of a steep cost, -3, so it goes to 1 loyalty, but it's a 4 mana Planeswalker with 4 loyalty, which is really good. A good cost, and it protects itself, and its emblem is insane. Like, whenever you cast a spell, deal 5 damage to target creature or player, that's ridiculous. So, yes, Chandra Torch of Defiance, obviously it's going to see all the limited play. It's going to, it's always going to be first picked in limited, and it's going to see constructed play. So that is a good card. Next, we have these Kaladesh Planeswalker Dex cards, so I'm just going to skip those. We're gonna stick with the Kaladesh non-Planeswalker deck cards. So next we have Lathnu Hellion. 2 in a red, rare Hellion creature, 4/4 haste. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice it unless you pay 2 energy. So it's a 3 mana 4/4 haste, which is good. And it generates energy for you, which is good. So on the surface, it seems fantastic, but you basically get 2 attacks out of it before you have to sacrifice it, unless you're a dedicated energy deck, in which case you can have it stick around. But it's obviously a very aggressive card, and if you're in the mode to play some aggressive decks, it's going to be a great card. It's going to be a fantastic card for those decks. Other than that, may not be good enough to first pick if you're not planning on being aggressive in the format. So this is one of those rares that could go either way. If you have a lot of experience with aggressive decks, this is probably going to be one of your strongest cards. If you're not really excited about aggro decks in the format, if they're not that good, this probably won't be that good. Next we have Madcap Experiment. 3 in a red sorcery. Rare. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Madcap Experiment deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. So it's a polymorph effect for an artifact card with the downside of you must... Well, it's better than polymorph because you don't have to sacrifice an artifact to find the artifact, but it's much worse than polymorph in that you have to deal damage to yourself. It deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. So this is one of those cards that I just think is much too dangerous to play. You're going to end up just, possibly randomly killing yourself off this card, and that is just too dangerous to play. So no, I am not excited by this rare. Next we have Fabrication Module. 3 generic mana, uncommon artifact. Whenever you get 1 or more energy, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then 4 and tap, you get 1 energy. This card's actually very good. It's slow, but you can use it as a combat trick. So I think that actually makes this card very strong. Like if you have Fabrication Module out and 3 creatures and are all 2/2s and your opponent's got, a 3/3 and some 2/2s, and you attack with all of them, and you have 4 mana up, you can basically just control how that combat goes very effectively. So yes, Fabrication Module to me strikes me as a very strong limited card. I think this card's very good, actually. Because even outside of generating itself, if you have a bunch of energy... Yeah, Fabrication Module seems insane, actually. Like, if your opponent just adds 3 energy from some card, they just get 3 +1/+1 counters on any creatures they control. Yeah, Fabrication Module seems like an insane card in Limited, actually. Next, we have Decoction Module. So 2 generic uncommon artifact. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy counter, and then 4 tap, return target creature you control to its owner's hand. So this, like Fabrication Module, is fantastic too. In fact, they work excellent together. And even if you don't need energy from the creatures that enter the battlefield under your control, Decoction Module protects creatures if you have 4 open mana. Can protect creatures you control from a combat trick. Say your opponent gets in combat and your opponent plays a combat trick, you can bounce your creature. Or your opponent plays an instant or sorcery speed removal spell. You can protect it that way. So I actually like Decoction Module too. I like Fabrication Module more, but I do like Decoction Module as well. Finally, we have Animation Module. 1 mana, rare artifact. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are placed on a permanent you control, you may pay 1 generic mana. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Then you pay 3 and tap. Choose a counter on target permanent or player. Give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. That's cool. A counter on a player. So is that an energy counter? Does a player get an energy counter so you can get another energy counter? I'm assuming you can. Maybe someone's mentioned that. I think it does. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure this would let you just get another energy counter if you already have one. So yes, I love that all the modules work amazingly well together, and this one definitely seems very good as well. You kind of need the fabrication module to go off. So far, I think actually the uncommon fabrication module is my favorite one. I really like that card a lot. But yeah, animation module is very good too. All right, next we have Torrential Gearhulk. So another one of the Gearhulk cards. I'm just going to go on a limb and say it's probably amazing. 4 and 2 blue mythic construct artifact creature. It's a 5/6 flash. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card would be put into the graveyard this turn, exile instead. Yeah, this card's insane. This is one of those cards that just completely alters a Magic game in dramatic fashion. So I'm gonna flash out my 5/6, block your 5/5, kill your other attacking 4/4. GG's. So yes, Torrential Gearhulk is bonkers and limited. Next we have a Nissa Vital Force, 3 and 2 green, 5 loyalty mythic Nissa Planeswalker. +1 untap target land you control until your next turn. It becomes a 5/5 elemental creature with haste, still land. -3 return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. -6 you get an emblem with whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. I like this card. You know, the emblem is actually not busted by any stretch of the imagination, but notice how quickly you get the emblem. You +1, it protects yourself, then you can emblem the next turn, so all your lands turn into cantrips. That is very good. I like Nissa a lot. I love how well she protects herself too, because a 5/5 is not really easily trifled with. And on top of that, you get to untap the land. So she even later can ramp you. I know it's not like super exciting ramp, especially on a 5-mana Planeswalker, but it's something that will probably come up every once in a while. So I like Nissa a lot. Obviously, a bomb and limited. I don't know if she could see constructed play or not. I think the possibility is definitely there. Absolutely. Next is Paradoxical Outcome. 3 and a blue, rare instant. Return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hands. Draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. Non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hands. Draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. This seems like a difficult rare to build around. So do you can... I'm trying to think of... So do energy counters count as tokens? I imagine they do. That would make sense. So you're bouncing a bunch of creatures, maybe drawing card. I don't know about this rare. This doesn't seem like one that's easily played with. But maybe potentially good. It protects from some mass removal, or 4-mana instant, bounce one of my creatures that's going to die from combat or get removed from your removal spell and then draw a card. Seems okay at best. Not amazing. Next we have Fireforger's Puzzle Knot. 2 generic common artifact. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Then you pay 2 and a red. Sacrifice it, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. This card's okay, actually. If you're playing against a bunch of X1s, you're going to be really happy you have this card. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty unhappy to pay 5 mana to kill a 2 toughness creature. But yeah, in the right matchup, I could definitely see this card being good. And it can at least burn your opponent, which is useful. Okay, next, Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot. 2 generic common artifact. When the Puzzle Knot enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. 2 and a black, sacrifice it, draw a card and lose 1 life. So I'm noticing a little trend here. It's like half of spells we've already seen, and then the 3 mana cost activated ability does seem a bit excessive. But I think both of these Puzzle Knots are likely to see some limited play, definitely. I actually think Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot, it's not terrible. I actually think it's okay. 2 mana, cantrip, lose 1 life, and then later draw another card and lose 1 life. So it does give you some card advantage over time, granted at a bit of a, steeper price than we're used to. Okay, next is Glassblower's Puzzle Knot. 2 generic, common artifact. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2, then you get 2 energy counters. And then 2 in a blue, sacrifice it, scry 2, get 2 energy counters. So it's actually card disadvantage, but you do get energy. So if you have the right deck, the energy deck, you're definitely going to be happy to have this. And you get to scry 2, so it increases your card quality. But no, I'm not like blown away by Puzzle Knot. I guess the question is, would I rather add 3 energy and gain 3 life like the green one, or scry 2 and gain 2? I don't know yet. I feel like the scry 2 is likely better than gain 3 life, probably most of the time. But is an additional energy worth it? You know, an additional 2 energy if you include the sacrifice effect. I'm just not sure yet. Finally, we have the Cog Workers Puzzle Knots. This is 2 generic common artifact. When enters battlefield, create a 1/1 Callidus servo artifact creature, and then 1 in a white, you get another servo creature. So all of the Puzzle Knots seem like they're playable, but you're never super excited to get them, and they probably go pretty late. All right, next we have Aether Flux Reservoir. 4 mana rare artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, and then pay 50 life. Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. You know, it's kind of a cool card. I don't think it's going to be playable in limited, or very playable in limited. It feels like it's going to be difficult to get to 50 life, even casting multiple spells in a turn and gaining a bunch of life. It still feels like it would be pretty difficult unless you're really jamming a bunch of spells every turn. I mean, eventually you're just going to run out of spells and probably still not equal 50 life to be able to use the activated ability. But yeah, it's probably just a little bit clunky. Just clunky enough where I probably would not play it in limited very often. Maybe I'll try it out though. Bristling Hydra is next. 2 and 2 green for a rare Hydra creature, a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy counters. Then you pay 3 energy counters and you put a +1/+1 counter on Bristling Hydra. It gains hexproof until end of turn. So honestly, I like this card quite a bit. I love that it can immediately gain hexproof when it enters the battlefield. I guess they can kill it in response to the getting the 3 energy counters, or in response to paying the energy counters. But it's a well-costed card and certainly worthy of first pick. I very much like this card. All right, next we have another Gear Hulk, the Noxious Gear Hulk. 4 and 2 black for a mythic artifact creature construct. 5/4 Menace. When enters battlefield, destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed, this way you gain life equal to its toughness. All of these Gear Hulks are really, really pushing the power envelope of Magic. Menace, so it's got evasion, it has high power, it's well costed, it destroys things, it gains you life. What more do you really want a card to do? Yes, Noxious Gear Hulk seems like the real deal as well. Obviously, slam dunk first pick in limited. Will it see constructed play? I think it easily could. Next, we have Shrewd Negotiation. 4 and a blue, uncommon sorcery. Exchange control of target artifact you control and target artifact or creature you don't control. I really like this card a lot. I think this will see a lot of limited play. It's kind of deceptive how good it is because you can swap one of your Puzzle Knots that you've already played, or one of your servo artifact creature tokens for a Noxious Gear Hulk your opponent controls, or something insane your opponent controls. So yes, I think Shrewd Negotiation is one of those cards that you can easily first pick and probably not regret it. Typically those I consider this like a mind control style of effect, and those effects are always insanely powerful and limited. Next we have Key to the City. 2 generic rare artifact. Discard a card. Tap, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. Whenever Key to the City becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Wow, I really like this card a lot. This seems like an easy first pick too, actually. Granted, you have to discard a card to make a creature be unable to be blocked, but that's a powerful effect, especially in colorless. And then whenever it becomes untapped, you get to pay 2 and draw a card. So it's kind of replacing the discard a card effect, and maybe you just don't need the card anyway. So I actually really like Key to the City a lot. That's a really cool limited card. Okay, next we have another foreign language card. So Incendiary Sabotage, 2 and 2 red instant. As an additional cost to cast it, sacrifice an artifact, and it deals 3 damage to each creature. This is one of those cards that will definitely be limited playable. Board wipe effects typically are, and it is an instant, which is also very, very good. So I actually like this card quite a bit. I mean, it does have a cost that you can't always pay, but in a artifact format, I think you're going to be able to pay it more often than not. Once again, just sacrifice one of your little servo artifact creatures that is going to die anyway to wipe the board. This could definitely be very, very good. I think this will be highly pickable and playable in the right deck. All right, next we have Angel of Invention. 3 and 2 white for a Mythic Angel. It's a 2/1 Flying Vigilance lifelink with Fabricate 2, and it has other creatures you control get +1/+1. I love this card. This card is very, very strong. I love how Fabricate looks so far. It seems like a lot of the cards that have Fabricate really get some nice choice-making abilities. Like, would I rather have a 2/1 Flying Vigilance lifelink with a couple 2/2s, or would I rather have a 4/3 Flying Vigilance lifelink for 5 mana? So both of those options seem amazing to me and certainly worthy of first picking. Okay, we're almost at the end here. So I'm going to do the Thriving little set here, and then we'll be done for this first little card session. We've already gone an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, so Thriving Rhino is 2 and a green, 2/3 common Rhino. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. When it attacks, you can pay 2 energy counters, and it gives a +1/+1 counter on it. So I'm kind of noticing a trend here with these green energy counter creatures. They tend to get +1/+1 counters at the cost of energy counters. I really like this card a lot too. Yeah, I love that it can immediately the next turn pay its own cost because it generates it when it enters. Yeah, Thriving Rhino seems like a fantastic common as well. Thriving Grubs, 1 red, 2/1 common gremlin. When it enters the battlefield, okay, so all the Thriving guys enter the battlefield and get you 2 energy counters, so we can just skip that part. So they enter, you get 2 energy counters. When the grub attacks, you pay 2, you get a +1/+1 counter. Wait a second. So they all do the same thing. They're just different bodies. So let's go through which ones are probably the best. The Thriving Turtle is a 1 mana 0/3 that can turn to a 1/4 on your second turn. Yeah, I like that. That seems good. The Thriving Rats is potentially a 2 mana 2/3 attacker on your third turn, which isn't as good as Thriving Turtle, I think, even though it is in black. Then we have Thriving Grubs, which is a 2 mana that can potentially attack as a 3/2. I like that a lot for red. That seems very aggressive. I still think the rats are good, by the way. I think so far I've been impressed with all of these. The Rhino, like I said, 3 mana that gets to attack as a 3/4. That's obviously good. And Thriving Ibex, which is a 4 mana 2/4 that attacks as a 3/5. So I guess the Ibex is the worst just because, I don't know, you don't typically want to attack with a... Attacking with a 3/5 on turn 5 isn't like insane. It doesn't seem nearly as insane as attacking with a 3/4 on turn 4 or attacking with a 3/2 on turn 3. And the turtle more just seems like... I guess the turtle's not that great either. But if you get it on turn 1, getting a 1/4 on turn 2 in blue is actually pretty useful. I feel like that holds back a lot of things fairly well. You do have to attack with it to make it a 1/4 though. So if you see the Thriving Turtle late, a 1 mana 0/3 is really not that good, whereas a 4 mana 2/4 is at least, serviceable. The Thriving Rats, being a 2 mana 1/2 late is going to be pretty terrible, but being able to have a 2/3 on turn 3 is also not fantastic. So the Rats, the Ibex, and the Turtle, not that great. The Rhino and the Grub seem really good. Okay, I've spoiled a bunch of cards. I hope you enjoyed this spoiler. We're going to have 2 more of these, like I said. We've got I guess they're roughly going to be about this long. I apologize if this is too long for you, but I just want to be able to get through all the cards alongside you guys and interact with your guys' comments. So I'm really going to try, and if you've got comments with questions, I'll try my best to get back to you. And I would love to discuss any of these cards if you think I overlooked some really cool aspect of the cards. I'd be happy to discuss that. Thanks so much. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. Like the video. It helps me get more visibility. I very much appreciate that. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.